what's up, everybody? Another great episode of Fourth Person Point of View, baby. And today's episode, we're going to talk about an industry I'm very familiar with, the trucking industry. So if you've been following the news, you are aware that President Trump signed an executive order requiring all truckers to basically be proficient in English. Now, there's a story in the New York Post. It says this was published April 29th by Emma Colton of Fox News, basically saying that Trump signs order requiring truck drivers to speak English, pass literacy tests as communication problems mount. Now, President Trump, in his first 100 days, he's doing a lot of shit. And a lot of people are not happy with what he's doing. And on the other side, you got a lot of people who are pleased with what he's doing. You know, I think this is his first 100 days, right? Now, people have been talking about this is not fair. They're saying it's going to affect a lot of people, and it might even affect some people born and raised in America because they can't speak English worth a fuck either. Now I'm going to give you my take on it. But first, let's go here and read. So that story was on the New York Post. You can go look at that yourself. But I'm going to read from the White House fact sheet here. So this is the whitehouse.gov. If you want to check this out, executive order dated April 28, 2025. And it says, by the authority vested in me as president by the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America, it is hereby ordered. Section 1, purpose. America's truck drivers are essential to the strength of our economy, the security of our nation, and the livelihoods of the American people. Everyday truckers perform the demanding and dangerous work of transporting the nation's goods to businesses, customers, and communities safely, reliably, and efficiently. Proficiency in English, which I designated as our national language in Executive Order 14224 of March 1st, 2025, should be a non-negotiable safety requirement for professional drivers. They should be able to read and understand traffic signs, communicate with traffic safety, border patrol, agriculture checkpoints, and cargo weight limit station officers. Drivers need to provide feedback to their employers and customers and receive related directions in English. This is common sense. That is why federal law requires that to operate a commercial vehicle, a driver must read and speak the English language sufficiently to converse with the general public, to understand highway traffic signs and signals in the English language, to respond to official inquiries, and to make entries on reports and records. Yet this requirement has not been enforced in years, and America's roadways have become less safe. My administration will enforce the law to protect the safety of American truckers, drivers, passengers, and others, including by upholding the safety enforcement regulations that ensure that anyone behind the wheel of a commercial vehicle is properly qualified and proficient in our national language, English. That's on whitehouse.gov if you want to go read the whole thing. And a lot of people was talking about Arkansas because I think Arkansas was one of the first states who came up with this little test. Let's see if we can pull it up here. Yeah, Arkansas had a test that they were giving people, their truck drivers. And if you couldn't pass the test, I think they flag your ass. Let's see if we can pull it up here. Arkansas. Okay, so online, this is on Snopes.com. It says new Arkansas legislation imposes English language requirement on truck drivers, but no proof of roadside tests. So I don't know where the roadside test came from, but I saw it on the news. I don't know if that was some bullshit or, you know, the news covers a lot of fuckery. So, but so basically Arkansas is complying with what Trump is basically signed into law. Now, as a person who drove trucks for about a year, I agree with Trump on this one here. And I will tell you why. Now, when I was driving trucks, the company I worked for, which was Warner, Yeah, the light blue company, that's who I drove for. I had a Freightliner. So in the trucking world, trucking it seems like a common sense job, but it's not. So according to the Department of Labor, they call it an unskilled job, but it's basically just driving. But you have to be skilled to drive the truck because you're driving a big ass goddamn truck that's loaded with a lot of weight, so that can be dangerous. I mean, people die all the time. Actually, I think my friend trucker killed. I think, okay, so there's been a few migrants that were operating 18-wheelers who killed people. So you can look that up online if you want to as well. Okay, yeah, illegal migrant. That was a Mexican national. Family of victim killed by alleged undocumented migrant. Suspected drunk driver. Okay. So there's a little bit of proof to support this. Now, like I was saying, an 18-wheeler is a big ass truck. I mean, if you could ever get in one of them, they big as hell. They are big trucks. And when those trucks are loaded, they become dangerous because if you're going at a certain speed, if that truck hits something, it's kind of like you running into a train, literally. So I think what Trump is saying here is that there have been a lot of migrants that are driving trucks that are not, they're not born and raised in the United States. So they're coming from another country anyway, and their standards of driving are different. Then you factor in they don't speak English. That makes it more dangerous. Because I remember when I was driving, they were having problems with a lot of people from Mexico. Because I think within a certain radius of the borders, I think they allow trucks to kind of cross the border to make deliveries. Because I remember my trainer kept saying that he didn't want migrants driving in the United States because he said he met a few of them and the damn trucks were not even up to the same speed. Speed not meaning acceleration, but like standards. He was saying that like the laws that the United States uses is not the same ones that some of our, well, he was talking about Mexico, so I ain't gonna say our neighbor, but Mexico, he was talking about their trucking industry standards are not the same as the United States. So he said that was dangerous, which I ended up seeing what he meant. In America, you have to pass certain types of tests, and your truck has to basically pass certain types of tests too. Like you have to get those trucks inspected. Because like I said, trucking is very dangerous. If you don't believe me, ask somebody who drive in the mountains a lot. So if you drive in the mountains a lot and if you hit your brakes too hard, your damn brakes will catch on fire. That's why they have all them damn runway exit ramps that you can get off the highway. Now you take that same truck right there and the brakes go out or they catch on fire as they call it. If that truck is running and you can't stop the brakes, that fucking truck is finna fuck up something because you got a truck loaded with all that goddamn weight. It's going down a fucking a slope, picking up speed. So once it gets to a place where it's probably on level ground and you got a lot of cars, like normal civilian cars and trucks on the highway, and that truck can't stop, whatever that truck hit is probably gonna kill. And that's just the nature of it. So the truck can be dangerous. Now, to the migrants who come over here and drive trucks because that's all they can do to get a job, like I said, I agree with what Trump's trying to do. You need to be speaking English because basically the way he's presenting this, you need to be able to abide by all the traffic signs, laws, verbiage, and the whole thing. And if you don't speak English well, I see where that could become a problem to you because you just can't visually see certain signs and always know what they mean. Especially if you drive out there across the country like I did. I drove 48 states in Canada. Now, you got certain places in the United States that have heavy traffic, even if the trucker takes the loop, which is what you do a lot of times. But you can go in certain places like New York, New Jersey, places like that where you got so many tight corners and shit that you got to get into. You need somebody who can goddamn comprehend in English and be aware. So if you got somebody from a different country that don't speak English, they're not aware of American goddamn culture, that's too much. So that can be a problem. So I agree with what Trump is trying to do 100% on that note. There are a lot of foreigners that drive. If you go to these truck stops, and I'm just going off memory, when I was driving, you meet a lot of damn Middle Easterns. I met a lot of Africans. I met a few Europeans that are technically migrants too. People have different views. So if you can get a truck and go take your test, you don't have to go to school. You don't. And I think that's where a lot of these migrants are falling into what Trump is trying to prevent from happening. They probably have a community or know somebody. They probably study enough to get the damn license. And that's a good thing, but it's also a bad thing. Because when I got my CDLs, I went to the Truck Driver Institute. I think that's what it was called. Like we literally went through like a little, it was a school. Like you went to a school where you went every fucking day for I think it was a few weeks. I don't remember right off, but you went to a school where you sit in the classroom and you was taught from a book. They taught you all the shit about the trucking industry. Then finally you went out there and you learned how to drive the actual truck. Then you had to be tested there. Like they tested you there. Then I think you do another test for in front of the state officials. So when I left truck driving school, I could really drive. And I could not drive a stick either. I could not at the time drive a stick shift car or pickup truck. But I learned how to drive 18-wheelers driving a stick. But I was comfortable when I left the truck driving school because it broke all that shit down to me. And it's a good thing because it actually prepares you for the goddamn trucking world. There's a lot of things in that trucking industry that can be very dangerous, especially like when you're driving in the snow, when it's ice on the ground, you go by a damn, what do you call them? The way stations. When you go by one of them way stations, sometimes in the wintertime, they might come out and tell you, everybody put your chains on. So, and this is in the United States. This ain't no Alaskan trucking type shit on a movie or a documentary. This is in the United States. So in the wintertime, when there's ice and snow, sometimes, well, mostly ice, you have to put them damn chains on. And when you put your chains on your tires, you cannot drive like at high speeds, but you can keep driving. That shit's very dangerous, especially if you're driving up in Colorado or somewhere. Another problem that I remember from my trucking days, if you're going through somewhere like Nebraska, I think, or Iowa, some places when you're driving that truck, you're coming through these plain areas where there's not a lot of trees, but you get a lot of wind. So if the wind's blowing real heavy, the wind would take that damn trailer on that truck and blow that motherfucker over. Like, I seen it. And luckily, when I drove for Warner, my dispatcher, and I guess they had taught him all this too. So when you're a new driver for a company like Warner, your dispatcher is kind of telling you what to be aware of. And luckily, what he was telling me to be aware of everywhere I went as a young driver, I kind of saw what he was talking about. Like when he would send me through like Nebraska, he would always say, I'm not going to let you bobtail through there or carry an empty trailer. He said, we're going to go load up here and put some kind of weight in your truck. That way you got a little bit of weight so your trailer won't blow over. So that trucking industry could be very dangerous. So I agree with what Trump is trying to do. I mean, you might not like it, but I think if you knew the downside of the trucking industry, I think a lot of people would actually appreciate it. And if English, of course, you could probably drive a truck if you spoke German or fucking Swahili or Mexican, or Spanish. You probably could drive the truck. But I think the bigger objective here is to make sure your ass is proficient in the English language, where you can take the English written test and comply with the English signs and shit that's posted. You can read these goddamn highway signs and all that shit. Because just like some of y'all driving a car, you know how sometimes you have to look at signs and shit and you make a wrong turn or something? That happens in the trucking industry too. People make wrong turns. People they get speeding tickets. They swerve, they get sleepy and all that shit. So I think what Trump is trying to do with this test is basically making sure everybody can go through the proper schooling. And I also think what he's doing, because you have a few truckers that have been found guilty of transporting illegal immigrants. And you can find this online too. So some of the truckers that are from other countries, if they come over here and they can get a truck and their whole objective is to goddamn smuggle aliens, that right there kind of will deter people in the future from trying to smuggle illegals across the border, because now you got to be so proficient in English, which means you probably got to go through a school. You got to be involved in American culture to a certain degree, instead of just coming over here as a migrant, not really knowing enough about American culture and the laws. And all your ass really want to do is you want to get a truck, smuggle migrants over here to make money. And on the flip side too, something else you might want to watch out for is the drugs. So you got a lot of foreigners who come over here and they drive trucks to smuggle drugs. I mean, I'm not saying you don't have people that are American born and raised that don't do the same thing. But once again, you got to put obstacles in a way to kind of like slow down the fuckery coming from the migrant community. And so if you put all these obstacles in place, it's gonna slow it down a little bit, where maybe the DOT can goddamn have a lighter load, and they'll be able to like patrol the highways more, and they can catch some of this shit that's happening. So that's kind of my take on there. I agree with what Trump is doing. I think if you're driving big trucks over here in the United States, I think you should be able to speak the English language. This is thetrucker.com. Let's see what they say here. It says, "We thank the Trump administration for responding to our concerns on the uneven application of this existing regulation, and we look forward to working with the FMCSA and the law enforcement community on an objective, consistent, and effective enforcement standard," said Dan Harlot, the American Trucking Association Senior Vice President of Regulatory and Safety Policy. Yeah. Okay, so it actually helps people born and raised in the United States too, because now it gets into a business. It gets into like the business aspect, because some truckers are owner operators, meaning they own their own truck, their own business. So I guess this right here actually helps some of those truckers too, because if a migrant comes over here, especially an illegal, if they can somehow get their own truck and they don't speak English and they don't have the same living standards you have being an American, I guess they can undercut you basically, based on what I'm getting from this. So they can undercut the prices because a lot of times what people are doing, I think you have all these loads out here and people can go in and make bids, or that they might tell you what the load is going to pay. So an illegal or a migrant can come over here and say, hey, I'm not trying to live in America forever. I just want to goddamn make a little bit of money and send back to Mexico or China, wherever. And this is actually going to help some of the owner-operators here too. Okay. Okay. And it is also supposed to cut back on the illegals too, because now, based on what I'm reading here, a lot of illegals that came over here, truck driving is something they might have wanted to get into, but they're not doing it up to the same standard. Like I told you, if somebody's got a truck and you can teach somebody how to pass the test, they can come over here and drive. So this actually helps you owner operators too from a business point of view. I didn't think about that. And that is the trucker.com. Just type in trucking industry reacts to Trump's ELP executive order for drivers. That's neat though. Yep, so I guess that helps you owner operator guys out and gals. A lot of women driving trucks now too. But that's all I have to say. I wanted to address that since I am a CDL holder myself. Tell me what y'all think about it. This has been fourth person point of view, baby. I'm out.